and there's a federal badge in there. And I kind of opened the window of the Skyhawk right after I shut down the engine. And he said, "I'm so-and-so from the Department of Homeland Security. Can you step out of the airplane, please?" I have a story from kind of the first trip that I took after I got out of college, where I realized that this is what I'm going to do as my career. Like, hands down, had a very passionate moment. And then kind of near the end of the trip, had a very unique experience with the Department of Homeland Security that they surprised us. And not in a good way. It wasn't like a birthday party or anything. So my buddy Arnaldo had this idea. I had never met the guy. He supported me on Patreon for a while, through the YouTube videos and stuff like that. And just so happened that Oshkosh of 2018, he was camping like 3 rows away from me. And he actually sent me an email, I think. And I just, like, in the craziness of Oshkosh, I just so happened to see the email on my phone. And I was like, oh, I recognize that name. That's cool. He's, I've seen him on Patreon and stuff. I'll go say hi to him. And we ended up chatting. We have the same year, make, model of Skyhawk. He had just put G5s in, which is what we were thinking about doing. So I looked at his panel and we talked about all that. And he just casually mentioned that he is planning to go out west and fly in the mountains and over the Grand Canyon. Bucket list item, but he's never done it. So he wants somebody to go with him that's done mountain flying. And I said, oh, well, dude, like if you're looking for somebody to fill your right seat, I'm your guy. Let me know. And he said, if you're serious about that, absolutely, let's plan it. So we ended the next couple months. We planned it. We went in December of 2018, I believe it was, and we took his 172 from Cocoa Beach, Florida, to Santa Monica, California, and back. And through the way, we encountered weather and stopped places unexpectedly. We diverted to Alamogordo, New Mexico, on the way, and said, let's bed down here for like 3 days while this cold front goes over us. And we explored Cloudcroft and the Space Museum and all that kind of stuff. We just had some nice, like, unexpected little delays that made for really cool exploration parts of the trip. And then we're flying over the Grand Canyon. We finally made it there. And of course, we're not done. We're going to go all the way to California. And we're flying over the Grand Canyon, and Skyhawk's on autopilot. Arnaldo's out the left window with his camera, and I don't even remember, 200 millimeter lens or something, shooting photos. And I've got my camcorder shooting 4K footage out the co-pilot window. And we're over like the biggest Dragon Corridor part of the Grand Canyon. And the lighting is perfect. It's like that really thin overcast, so the light is diffused, but it was just perfect coloring and everything. And we've got our hoodies on and the heat's cracked open. It was just like the perfect, this is awesome kind of moment. And I remember looking through the viewfinder, all scrunched up in the tight cockpit, looking through the viewfinder of this camera, getting this wide angle sweeping shot of the Grand Canyon. And I was like, holy crap, I'm at work right now. And it was just kind of, and I didn't really consider it work for me at the time, but I mean, I'm doing this. It takes up pretty much all my time, and I'm making my money from this, and it's kind of becoming a business in video production and stuff like that. And that was a really, like, passionate moment in my brain where I realized, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for a living. And it was just kind of like pure bliss for the rest of the trip. I'm like, this is in my element. This is great. We get to California. We go to the Santa Monica Pier, walk all the way to the end, get some beers at Bubba Gump Shrimp, and called it a day. We made it all the way to the West Coast now. And we're like standing there on the beach as the sun's going down. We're getting our time-lapse footage and stuff like that. And we just kind of look at each other and we're like, crap, we got to turn around and do all that over again now. And we're realizing that it's kind of like we screwed up kind of moment, but not really. Like, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. So we turn around, we start heading home, and really uneventful. We're really not filming the trip home because we're just covering the same ground, but in reverse. And actually another part of the story is we did encounter icing unexpectedly over West Texas. There was probably a little bit of get-there-itis and a little bit of our ignorance and egos, both, which is a god-awful combination. We were letting those into the cockpit, and we kind of pressed on, and this weather system, we ended up catching up to it and went through it, and we were experiencing light to moderate precip, well below freezing temps up at 4,000, 5,000, wherever we were. We were IFR, so we were allowing ourselves to go in and out of IMC. It's starting to get dark, and we realized we're picking up ice. As one of us picked up a flashlight and shined it on the windshield, and we're like, oh. And there's that one little clear spot where the defrost hits the windshield in the Skyhawk, but the rest of it was a sheet of ice. We start watching the wings, we're watching the landing gear, and we picked up a good amount of ice, and we were very close to declaring an emergency. We were like just so happened to be coming through central Texas when this was happening. It was a cold front. So we could have diverted to San Marcos, my home airport, and just called it a night there. What ended up happening is we landed at Georgetown, incredibly gusty. We had to do a go around. We're getting down to our fuel minimums, like 1 hour reserve. We're bumping up against 1 hour left. We had to do a go around because of the wind shear, and we were starting to get nervous. So we came around, finally got it on the ground. I think we went ahead and fueled it up, tied it down. My dad picked us up, regroup, let the weather pass, and then we were on the next day. Our next leg is from Central Texas to New Orleans, lakefront. We land at the lakefront airport. We're gonna get gas, chill at the FBO, maybe go get some dinner. Well, our dinner plans were kind of ruined in terms of timing because we were trying to get to Florida. But we land in New Orleans, and I'm in the left seat on this leg. Arnaldo's in the right seat, and he's the owner of the airplane. And let me preface the kind of the image. Let me preface this with the image of what all this looks like. Arnaldo and I, two guys flying a Cessna 172 from Cocoa Beach, Florida to Santa Monica, California, and back in a span of 10 days. And the Skyhawk is loaded down. Okay. I don't know why this happened, but when we rolled up to the FBO, a couple guys are walking toward the plane. They're dressed in like khakis and black polos, tucked in, and they have some badges, clipped to the front of their shirts. And then one guy rolls up and he pulls out kind of a wallet-looking thing and he rolls it open, and there's a federal badge in there. And I kind of opened the window of the Skyhawk right after I shut down the engine. And he said, "I'm so-and-so from the Department of Homeland Security. Can you step out of the airplane, please?" And I'm like, "Oh, you got it." I don't have anything to hide, but what the hell is this all about? And I get out. They tell Arnaldo to stay in the airplane. So I'm like, okay, so I'm the one that's screwed here. And I get out of the plane. I talked to the guy for a second, and he said, where are you coming from? Where are y'all headed? And I just told him, this morning we departed from wherever it was, and we're heading back to Florida. "Oh, well, how long have y'all been on traveling?" And I said, "Well, getting close to 2 weeks. We're wrapping up a big trip." "Oh, where'd y'all go?" Like, he's grilling me. The other guy walks around to the other side of the airplane, asks Arnaldo to step out of the airplane, takes all of his documents. Meanwhile, like, when he asked me to get out, he took the airworthiness certificate, registration, weight and balance. He wanted to see the operating handbook. And then, of course, pretty much everything in my wallet, aside from my cash, is what he wanted. Maybe he did want the cash. He is a Fed, after all. I explained everything to him. Arnaldo explained everything to the other guy. Then we kind of came together as a group, and we were asking point blank, "Well, what is this all about? I mean, what are you looking for?" And they said, "Well, what were y'all going to Santa Monica for?" And we said, I don't know. We just wanted to take a coast-to-coast trip. And he just couldn't wrap his head around that. He didn't believe it. So we unloaded the airplane. Completely unloaded the airplane. With Arnaldo and I in there, full fuel and all of our gear, we're at max gross to illustrate how full this airplane is. And a lot of the bulk of the weight is my camera equipment. I have my Pelican cases. We've got our suitcases. I've got a laundry bag. Like, "Here, you want to sniff some underwear? Like, what do you want, Federale?" So we explain all this stuff to him. We unload the plane. We unloaded the entire airplane. And he went through everything. I mean, looked in my Pelican cases, looked in all of our suitcases, looked in our laundry bags, and like feeling for lumps, like clumps of stuff. They were looking for marijuana is what it was. And the guy kind of hinted at that. And he said, "Well, I mean, it looks awful weird. You got to admit, two guys in this is not exactly a workhorse of an airplane," which I was mildly offended by. And he said, "It's a little unusual for two guys to go from coast to coast in a loaded down Skyhawk in a matter of a relatively short period of time." I disagreed, but that was going to change his mind. So after searching every inch of everything we own in that airplane, he kind of handed the heap of documents back to us, just all mixed up. Like, all of our driver's licenses and everything are just mixed in with the airplane document. "Well, here you go. Sorry for the inconvenience. We appreciate y'all being cooperative. It looks like y'all are good to go." They never brought out a drug dog or anything, but they looked in the airplane, flashlights, and lifted up the carpet, and they did everything short of pulling inspection panels out. But they searched the airplane. And they basically just handed us the heap of everything, and all of our bags are strewn across the ramp, and we're trying to like catch our stuff as it's tumbling across the ramp in the wind. And they just said, well, you're good to go. We're not detaining you or anything like that. We apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you for your cooperation. Have a good day. And we're just standing there like, well, there went an hour, and now it's like getting dark, and we're kind of worrying about weather and stuff like that. And Arnaldo and I kind of looked at each other like, what the hell was that? And during that whole grilling process, the guy was asking us like, are you sure there's nothing on this airplane that we need to know about? It's a lot easier if you just tell us now. It'll be way better going forward if we just know about it. And Arnaldo and I are like, we're looking at each other like, I don't have any. Do you have anything? No, it's we're totally unsuspecting. We don't know what the hell's going on. So we never found out why that was. But that was probably one of the most bizarre renditions of what I thought a ramp check would be. Because I've always heard of the FAA ramp checking you, make sure your documents are in order and that kind of thing, make sure your airplane's airworthy. They wanted to make sure that the airplane was properly registered and the names matched and it wasn't stolen or anything like that. I mean, it's the Department of Homeland Security. They're not the FAA. But they know what documents to look at, I guess. But it was just crazy to have to unload the plane. We're not at a border checkpoint. We're not crossing in and out of a country. We haven't on this entire trip. We've been flying a Skyhawk VFR across the country with the occasion of, flying an IFR flight plan here and there. So there was no reason for that to happen. But the only thing I can blame it on is somebody called in something saying these dudes are suspicious or something like that. I just can't. It was like a one-off. They rolled up in their cars, got out, talked to us. When they were done, they got in their cars and left the airport. So I don't know. But that was kind of the ending of that trip where I was like realizing like, wow, I think this is going to be my career. Like this is what I want to pursue, aviation filmmaking. And I'm kind of getting my foot in the door with this. And then, on our way back to Florida, we freaking get stopped by DHS. And it was a little bit of a bizarre experience, but we took off out of New Orleans after getting fuel. Of course, now it's getting dark. We didn't make it to Orlando. We cut it off in Pensacola and spent the night. But yeah, interesting trip. But make sure your ducks are in a row, one, and make sure that you're not doing anything illegal, because you'll get nailed if you just so happen to randomly get ramp checked like that, and apparently it happens.